Hi, this is Vicki Romaine with Cheerful Greetings, and we're going to begin today with making some pockets and bags out of parchment paper. I have a piece here that's 4 by 4, and I have a couple other pieces that are 4 by 6, and then a larger one that is about 5 by 7. I'm going to start with the smaller pieces first and work to the larger ones. Now, if you notice my parchment paper rolls up, that's because it comes on a roller like Saran wrap or Reynolds wrap. I'm going to be putting some Distress ink on my cutting mat, and I'll be putting it directly onto the parchment paper. And at times I'll be using a cloth to smear it more. Now that I have stained my parchment paper, I'm going to place it on my cutting mat so I can see my measurements. And I have folded my parchment paper in half. And so now I'm going to cut the bottom half on each side about 1/2 inch off. I'll start at the fold mark and cut down the side to the bottom. This will be about 1/2 inch. I will do this on each side, cutting from the fold mark to the bottom edge. Now I am doing the same on the other side. Now both edges are cut, so I am going to clip the piece off that's hanging with a pair of scissors. My little pocket's almost done. What I do now is take the piece that's left over, that's sticking out on each side, and I'm folding it over at the edge of the cut piece over top of my ruler. Now I press down the sides good, and I fold it up in half, and now I've got my first pocket. So let's try this again. I usually have to cut down the side twice to make sure I've gone through the parchment paper good. Again, we will fold the extra piece over. And then fold it up, making sure the top edges meet, and then press it down good. And now we have 2 pockets made, but notice that I have not glued the sides yet. What I really want to do is to sew the sides, but I want to decorate first. So let's see what we can come up with. I have these sheets of paper, of cardstock, that I've cut down some strips. And if you notice, it's the same design, but different widths. And these are strips from the Premier membership of Graphics Fairy. So I'm going to cut these down a little bit and put them on my pockets. And so I'm just going to work on it and let you follow along. I am going to distress the edges of this piece of book page that was just laying on the table here, and I want to get rid of it, so let's see if I can figure out a way to get rid of it. I like the little crook in the side of it, near the top there. I'm going to try to play that up a little bit. I have some Siri cloth here, and I'm just going to pick a color out that I like and put it on my pocket. Why don't we go with a piece of blue? I kind of like that, so we shall cut off just a little bit. I don't need much. This lighter color of blue does better. And I keep my Siri cloth tied and just pull out strings or pieces as I need it. I cut the Siri cloth too small for a bow, and it's not large enough to go over the entire pocket. So what I'm going to do is just put a piece to kind of squunch it up together and put it in the middle of my pocket. Right now I'm trying to kind of spread it out, straighten it up a little bit, and spread out the some of the strings on it. I kind of like this idea. I think I'm going to go with it. So give me a second and we'll glue all of this down. Okay, there's that pocket. And if you notice, I worked basically with it up and down, but the pocket is straight now. This is the way it will go into the junk journal. I found a little teeny-weensy heart that has been on my desk forever, so I stuck it in the middle of my Siri cloth. Now I'm distressing the edges of my next little pocket. The ink that I've been using is my distressed ink. The color is vintage or walnut stain. I kind of use both of them together. Here's another item I've been wanting to use, and that's a stamp. Whenever I get mail and it has a stamp that's a little different from the ones that I use to mail my cards, I usually try to keep the stamp and save it to use on a project. Along with the stamp, I'm going to be using a little bit of leftover Christmas twine, and I'm just going to put it underneath the stamp somehow. No particular reason. I just thought I'd add to it. It gets it off my desk. I need to spread it out a little further so it'll show, though. Okay, I think I've just about got it now like I want it. So we'll put a little glue underneath the stamp and mash it all down to hold it in place. Now I've had this dragonfly that has fallen from my desk a number of times, so let's find a place for it. I think this looks good, and we'll get a little glue on it, and I'll be all done with my second pocket. Now the next ones that I'm going to do will be more like bags because of the size of the parchment paper. Again, I'm not going to glue the sides together yet. I'm going to use my sewing machine, and my sewing machine should be able to go through all the layers on this, on both of these. So here are my two little pockets. I think they turned out right cute, and it gave me a chance to use up some scraps. I have a stamp, a piece of twine, a dragonfly, a piece of scrapped Christmas cardstock that had cookies on it, just a piece of book page, and a teeny-weensy piece of cere cloth, and a little heart that had appeared on my desk forever. As a finishing touch to this one pocket, I put a couple of stickles on it, and I'll be putting that aside so I don't put my hand in it. Now I'm going to do the larger bags as such, and they are made the same way as these two small pockets. I will not show the staining, nor the cutting of the sides, nor the folding over the upper side, and then making the bag itself. So we will start with coming back and doing the decorating. Here are two larger bags or pockets that I have already done the preliminary coloring and cutting, and now I'm going to decorate. This is a little teeny-weensy envelope, and I think it's pretty neat. It would go great on the front of a bag. My problem with the envelopes, I never know which side I want to show, whether I want to show the front side where you put the address or the back where you insert. But in this particular case, I think I'm going to use the back where you insert. And I have this little piece of cardstock. I'm not sure where it came from. It just appeared, and so I'm going to make it disappear. And to go with it, I found this orange flower. I'm checking to see how many layers there are, and I think there's only one layer here. I'm just showing you the process I go through here to decorate something for my junk journal. The little passage, the little message that says here, I found my life when I laid it down. I think I know what items I want here, but I am trying to work with the placement so that I can get them to be balanced. I like the little girl here, and I'm going to see if she will fit into my little envelope. She looks like she might be at the right size, and she does. So I will glue the envelope in a few minutes and let the little girl be inside it. That will give me a couple of layers. I like to have my projects layered, and so we would have the bag, the envelope, and the girl inside makes the third layer. Now that I have my envelope glued in place, I will glue the other items on my bag. I still seem to have a little problem with my flower. I'm not sure where I want it to go. Well, my bag is finished, and I decided that that flower needed to go on the envelope, which gave it another layer still. I tried to put different things at the top corner, but I couldn't find anything I really like, and I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have anything up there. So we will go to the next bag. I think this was a 4x5 piece of parchment paper that I'm working with now. It's not very large, so I'll be able to put only a couple of items on there. And again, I think I'm going to go with the sticker. I have some flowers that I've cut out of a book, and I had to kind of fussy cut them because they were so small. Now I'm trying to get a sticker on. I love these stickers, but they're so hard to get started. This little bag will come together quickly because there's not much room. Okay, while I was cutting out a phrase to go on top of this, I found one that I liked to add to my larger bag, and that will fill in that space too. So let's see if it will work. I'm trying to trim it up where it's fairly even. And that kind of fills in that space a little bit too. And it says, one fine day, I found my life when I laid it down. Okay, that works out. And that kind of fills in that space. So now I've got to get one for my little pocket. And you don't, or bag, you don't have to have anything very long, and you don't have to even put a phrase or anything on your projects. I just like to every once in a while. Okay, let me put my X-Acto knife away, and we'll look at what we've made. Now remember, none of these are glued on the sides. They just have the, they only have the sides folded up, waiting to be glued or sewed. Now what I'm going to do now is go to the sewing machine and sew these, and we'll see what they look like afterwards. Okay, here's some of my pockets and bags that I made, and I stitched them on the outside. Some of them you saw me make, and some I had already made previously. There's this little man, I think is really cute. I used a cut flower on it, and the sewing is not perfect. It's been at least 35 years since I've used my sewing machine. So I was doing good to get the needle threaded. Now, I use different stitching. The first one just plain stitching. I've used zigzag, and I need to cut some of these strings off so it'll look right. Besides the zigzag, I used a, I can't remember what the kind of stitching is. It's where it's branched out. Now this one, I had a little problem at the top of my bag to get it started. That was the first one I sewed, and so I had a little problem, and it's torn up there. But these are homemade, and you expect the flaws. There's some zigzag, and this is a applique stitch on that one. And I think the little girl in the envelope looks nice. Then I have this one. This is an entirely different stitch too. I'm really pleased with how these turned out. The different stitching are not really good, but the more I make, the better they get. As I say, I very seldom use my sewing machine, but I wanted to this time, and that's why I did not glue the edges. Now, you could have glued the edges and then stitched if you wanted to, but since I had the parchment paper pressed down good, it did fine. And you still have your little pocket there after I've sewed to put something in. Here's all my bags and pockets I did, including the ones I had done previously. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, please come back and see me and see what I have in store for you for next time. I hope you will try this out. And don't forget, before you leave, please subscribe. Bye.